Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Elizabeth. I am a writer, singer, lover of books, and today I have a huge book haul. These are all the books I've bought probably within the last 6 weeks. So I definitely have a problem, but there are worse things I could be addicted to, so let's get started. The first book I bought, I've already read and it was fabulous. That was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. If you're not familiar, this has kind of been all over. R.F. Kuang is a very successful, talented writer, so this has already gotten its flowers. But if you're not familiar, it's about these two writers. They're very good friends and one of them passes away. And the one who passes away was a very successful writer and her friend was not a successful writer. And she steals her friend's manuscript and publishes it as her own and gets like the notoriety and fame that she had always been desiring. It's to like convince you the whole time that she's in the right here. And it's very interesting. It's literary fiction. It's a great look into like writing and publishing as a whole. And it was very interesting. Next we have Stephen King on writing. This is a memoir of the craft is what it's labeled. And it's Stephen King, who is a very successful author, as I'm sure you all know. And he has written down his top tips. So I'm currently reading this one. I'm about that far. Kind of a little spoiler alert. I've been trying to write a book. I've always written songs and poetry, and I love reading books. So if I write songs and I read books, I wanted to try to write a book. And who knows, writing a book is hard. It's, even though I consider myself a good writer, it's hard. And getting a book published is even harder. But has a lot of great tips in it if you are interested in being a writer. And so I'm hoping that it will help me and hopefully I can become a published author. That would be a dream come true for me. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend this book if you have any interest in writing or if you just are interested in knowing like the behind the scenes of writing. Next is a collection of Walt Whitman poems. I found this at the thrift store. This is very thick. I have a Leaves of Grass, which is like collection of poetry that he updated throughout his life. I have one of those and it's pretty thin, and this says it's the complete poems. So I just love these vintage Penguin Classic books. I know a lot of people like the modern Penguin Classics that are have the black stripe at the bottom, and I love those too, but these ones are my favorite. So I saw the cover and I like Walt Whitman's poems, so that made me grab it. Next is actually one of my favorite movies. I have two favorite movies, and one of them is The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I had never read the book The Talented Mr. Ripley. So this one has, I think, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Ripley Underground, and Ripley's Game. So I think I didn't even know there were sequels, but I'm very excited to read the book. So it's one of my favorite movies, and it's also, back to talking about the book that I'm working on, it has a very similar aesthetic. The book I'm working on takes place in Italy, and there's like some dark, twisted things that go on if you're familiar with The Talented Mr. Ripley. So I was hoping it would kind of help me get right into the mindset of the characters that I'm working on. And I've written about 10,000 words of my book so far, and my goal is 75,000. So I'm still early in the stages. If you don't know The Talented Mr. Ripley, definitely recommend the movie and hopefully the book. This guy is from America, and his dad wants him to come home. He's been spending the summer in Europe. And he wants to just live in Italy, and his dad wants him to come home. He's from this wealthy family. So his dad hires a guy to pretend to be his friend and come and bring him back to America. And that guy's name is Tom Ripley, who has this great talent for impersonating people. And there's just some dark, twisted things that go on, but it's brilliant. The movie is so good. All the characters are beautiful, and they wear beautiful, beautiful clothes, and they're in a beautiful place. So it's just aesthetically so pleasing to look at. Next was also from the thrift. This is a collection of Emily Dickinson poems, selected poems and letters of Emily Dickinson. I love Emily Dickinson. She was probably the first poet I got into. She might actually still be my favorite poet. Very talented. I think for living so long ago, her poetry is very easy to understand, and is beautifully written. So I'm excited to try that. Next was part of my Valentine's Day gift from my husband. He knew that I loved Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and he also knows I love secret history, which is like in the dark academia world. And this is supposed to be in the dark academia world, and it's by R.F. Kuang, who wrote Yellowface. So this is Babel, and I'm a little intimidated by it. I haven't started it yet, but I do want to. Everybody seems to love it, and everybody who loves the secret history seems to love it, so those should be the only prerequisites I need. We have a visitor. This is my dog Gatsby, named after the great, and she is such a good girl, so she wanted to join us for the rest of the recommendations. She may jump off at any time, but we'll see. Next on the list is De Profundis by Oscar Wilde. I love Oscar Wilde. I love The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I love just reading about his life and the little snippets that he has. This, I believe, is a collection of love letters that he had written while he was in jail for being gay. So he lived, I believe, in Ireland in the 1800s, where homosexuality was a crime, and he was arrested and spent a lot of time in jail. So this is a collection of letters from that time in his life, and I'm very excited to read. I've heard it's very romantic and very well written. Also by Oscar Wilde, we have Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast. This is really tiny. This is part of the Little Black Classics from Penguin, and I believe this is just a collection of quotes, like I had been mentioning before, from Oscar Wilde and his other works and his plays and such. I just love the title, Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast, which kind of makes me think that you're either only great people are hungover in the morning and can't really form a good thought. So this should be very interesting to read. Next we have A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. This, all I've heard of this is that it's literary fiction, which I love, that there's a girl who, a cannibal, and eats boyfriends. I think I'm getting that right. And that sounded great to me. It's reminding me, if you're on TikTok and you've heard that audio of Theo Vaughn say, I think a woman should get to kill one man a month. Ditto. So yeah, and I just think it's probably one of those strange books like Bunny, which I loved. And also a lot of writing advice says like, read within the genre that you're writing, and my book is probably going to be a little weird. I don't think there's going to be any cannibalism in there. Not going to say never, but something about this book, I haven't read it yet, might help me as a reader who's looking to read like a writer. Gatsby left us. Okay, so this was the book I had just finished, and I bought this the same day that I got Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and this is Rouge by Mona Awad. And so she wrote Bunny, which I loved. I also read her novel All's Well, which I didn't like as much as Bunny. This one was very good. I love the cover here. Knowing that I liked this author and then seeing the beautiful cover, that was what hooked me. And you just see a rose here, which applies to the novel. But if you turn it upside down, it's also a jellyfish, which also applies to the novel. So I think that's just brilliant. This was a very interesting book. It says, Belle is obsessed with beauty, just like her estranged mother, Noelle. When Noelle mysteriously dies, Belle returns to Southern California, grappling with the lingering questions surrounding her mother's death. Soon after the funeral, a cryptic video about a transformative spa experience lures Belle into La Maison des Méduses, the same lavish, culty spa to which her mother was devoted. There, Belle discovers the frightening secret behind her obsession with her reflection and what lurks beyond the glass. So there's cults, there's beauty, YouTube gurus, and Mona Awad is just I hope I'm saying that right, is just a great writer, so that was a lot of fun to read. Next one I've been wanting for years, and I'm very excited. It's called Me the Waltz by Zelda Fitzgerald. This is Zelda Fitzgerald's only novel that she has ever written. And I know a lot of people think that she wrote The Great Gatsby or other novels by Scott Fitzgerald and that he plagiarized her. I said it in my last video and I will scream it from the rooftops. I do not think that's true. But I do love her, so I wanted to give her the respect and buy her work nonetheless, even though I don't think that she wrote those other books. I do want to see like what her writing style actually is, and I think that'll be really fun for me. Finally, the last book I saw on a TikTok, and I had been searching for philosophy books because before I got the idea for my current novel, I had an idea for a different novel which surrounded a group of philosophy students. So I was trying to learn as much about philosophy as possible, and so I got The Consolations of Philosophy by Elaine de Botton, and I haven't started it yet, but I'm very excited to. This is, I think, kind of like a beginner's guide into a lot of different philosophers, but now I'm kind of putting it on the back burner because I have this different novel idea that I like so much more, and maybe I'll come back to the philosophy student idea, but right now I'm just I'm so happy with the book that I'm writing about two people in Italy, which I can share more about later. I'm just hopeful that it all works out because it's been really hard to write a novel. Thank you so much for watching. That was my very large book haul. If you've read any of these and you like them, let me know. Like, I still have most of them to read. I had only read those couple that I told you about, and I'm sure I'll see you back because I have a book buying problem. Goodbye.